There you go.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Happy April Fool's Day. As chair of this meeting, I need to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members and student representatives, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mary Branley.
Here.
Jessica Clark.
Here.
Bethlyn Houlihan. Not here. Natasha Rivera.
Here.
Adam Fowler is here tonight with us. Oh, we can't hear you.
It says I'm unmuted.
Okay, now we can.
Oh, perfect. Here.
Awesome. Lydia Clancy here. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Colleen Andrade.
Here.
Jeff Ferranti.
Here.
Jennifer Gaudet.
Here.
Brian Haas.
Here.
Rob Rouleau. Rob is muted.
He's there somewhere.
Here.
Wayne White. Wayne is muted.
I'm here.
All right. Anticipated guest speakers on the agenda. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jen Piccarelli. Is she here?
I do not see her unless she's named something else.
I do not see her either. All right. Well, she's got a while to show up. Hopefully. Okay. This open meeting of the Maynard School Committee is being conducted remotely per Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 executive order issued in response to the state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the open meeting law requirement to have all meetings in publicly accessible physical locations. All members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order permits public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded the public so that they can follow along with the meeting's deliberations. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting will feature a citizens' comment period. This committee is convening via Zoom video conference as posted on the district's website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording, which is audible to and viewable by the public. Additionally, please let the chair know if you are recording or broadcasting this meeting prior to doing so. If you intend to record or broadcast this meeting, please raise your hand in the participants box, or raise your hand and it will show up in the participants box that you are doing so. I do not see anyone's hands raised, so I will assume that no one is recording or broadcasting. Most of the supporting materials that have been provided for the members of this body are available on the Maynard Public Schools website under School Committee. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Meeting ground rules. Before we go to the first item on the agenda, permit me to cover some ground rules for the effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, the chair, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide a single comment, question, or motion. I will go through the line of members again for additional comments or questions as time allows. Please hold off speaking until your name is called, and remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Please do not interrupt anyone who is speaking, and cease speaking if the chair requests you to do so. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Citizens' comments. Any citizen wishing to make a comment to be read during a virtual meeting and entered into the public record may do so by emailing comments to comments4scmeeting@maynard.k12.ma.us. And Colleen, can you put that in the chat for people? Thank you. Comments need to be emailed in advance and will be received up until the citizens' comments agenda item is addressed. Your email must include your first and last names and street address in order for it to be read. Emails without names and or addresses cannot be read. I am no longer reading the street number. I am only reading the street of where people live. To ensure that your statement is read in its entirety, a 350 word limit is suggested. Statements longer than 350 words may be cut short at the 3-minute mark in the interest of time, but will be submitted for public record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or 350 words to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. The chair will read only one statement from each citizen. However, citizens can submit any additional comments for the public record by providing a copy to the chair via email up until the end of the meeting, specifically stating their desire to have these additional comments included. Please be aware that the citizens' comments agenda item is a devoted time for the school committee to hear from the citizenry. As such, its structure primarily supports unidirectional public recording of citizens' comments rather than a bidirectional conversation. All right, I will now open the meeting with a roll call. Mary Branley,
Here.
Jessica Clark,
Here.
Bethlyn Houlihan. Bethlyn Houlihan.
Not yet.
Can't hear you.
I don't think oh, there she is. There she is.
Still can't hear you. All right, moving on to Natasha Rivera.
I'm here. Yes.
Let the record show that Bethlyn Houlihan is here, but no one can hear her.
I think she said she's going to leave and come back.
Okay, sounds good. Do you want us to wait for you? No. Okie dokie. So, and Lydia Clancy here. Did I say that? I don't think I did. So anyway, the meeting is now open. If there are no objections, and I will wait for Bethlyn to come back, I would like to approve the meeting minutes from 1:25 and 2:24 and the workshop from 2:24. I do have a content change for 3:4, so I'm not going to include that in the bulk approval. Do I have, and I'll repeat it for you, Bethlyn. Without objection, I would like to approve the meeting minutes from 1:25, the joint FinCom SC meeting, the workshop on 2:24, and the meeting on 2:24.
I did have actually, I can't remember now which one I had a comment on, but I did, it was, I think it was the joint meeting with FinCom, just to add a word. Let me go back to it. Colleen may have seen it already. Oh, yes. It was on the last page where there was information to add the word annually when we were talking about the special education costs were anticipated to increase about 1 million. I wanted to add the word annually because that's the context at which it was shared.
Okay. Any objections? So shall we?
Lydia, can you hear me?
I can now.
Yeah, I had to take my earbuds out. I don't know what's going on with them. So I am listed as absent in at least one of those that I was present for due to the cut and paste from that one meeting that I was absent. So just with that change for the meeting so that I can be reflected as present, that was the only thing I had as a change.
That would be January 25th meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
You aren't listed there as being in attendance. Yeah.
Yeah, that one. I think that's
Got
one
another
that-
copy and paste from.
And February 24th as well.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's it.
Okay, so we'll go through each individually then, since there does seem to be a need for change. So start with the change in the January 5th meeting minutes for the joint FinCom SC meeting. The only edit we need, well, no, there were two. One was to add Bethlyn Houlihan is present and to add the word annually after $1 million in the first paragraph on the second page.
Do
I,
you want to do motions for each? Is that what you're
yeah,
thinking?
I think so, just because it seems like
Okay.
they're,
More substantive.
um,
Okay, so you may make a motion for that one?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes for January 25th with edits that have been shared to reflect Bethlyn's presence and the word annually.
Second,
all right, roll call vote. Mary Branley,
yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Bethlyn Houlihan,
Yes.
Natasha Rivera,
Yes,
Lydia Clancy. Yes. Okay. The second one is February 22nd. Remote meeting. That was the policy, the special policy meeting. Without objection, I would like to approve this with the one change denoting that Bethlyn was present. Any objections? Okay, so approved. And the next one we have the workshop minutes from February 24th. Are there any substantive changes? No. All right, so without,
That has Bethlyn listed as absent as well.
oh, it does, doesn't it? Look at that.
They all do. Because Colleen is really good at copy and pasting and being efficient.
you
But
gotta be, it's all about efficiency.
you just gotta copy and paste from a different one than the one meeting.
Yeah, I think her template maybe isn't a good.
Yeah. So without objection, noting that those changes, then I think we're good. with me being
Okay.
present.
So any objection? No. Okay. Those are approved. And then for the 3-4 meeting minutes, under the, wait, why can't I see my, under the chair's report. Sorry, I'm trying to get. For 3-4 chair's report. The last sentence of the first paragraph, there is a discrepancy of ownership of Crow Park, and I would like it to say there needs to be a conversation between the district and the town to determine whose responsibility it is to oversee and manage it. Do you want me to type that in, Colleen? Oh, I did.
I think you put it in the
did.
comments, right?
Yeah, I did. I put it in a comment. And Mary Branley changed the punctuation on
Yeah, and just added a word about windows. open.
added open windows. Yep. Okay. So I will accept a motion to, oh, wait. Okay.
Can I, oh, never mind. Okay.
Okay. I will accept a motion to approve these meeting minutes with,
I will
The-
make a motion that we approve meeting minutes for March 24th, 2021 with the
this is
edit.
3-4.
Oh, sorry, March 4th, sorry, 2021, right?
Yes.
With the edit provided by Mary Branley, punctuation with the word open, and Lydia Clancy's edit to reflect the, expand on the conversation regarding the ownership of Crow Park.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay. Roll call. Natasha Rivera,
Yes,
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Bethlyn Houlihan,
Yes.
Mary Branley,
Yes,
Lydia Clancy. Yes. Okay. All approved. Next, acceptance of warrants. Without objection, I'd like to accept warrants 21-049, -050, -5051, and -052.
I will abstain from 049.
049. Okay.
Yeah, I think Jessica and I
Well, Both of you?
not.
I will, yeah, I'll abstain from 049 as well.
Okay,
I don't know if you want to do a roll call, just you three.
yep. For all of them. Yeah,
Or do that one separate. We can accept the other ones and then just do that one
Mhm.
separate.
Let's do
Okay.
that.
okay. So without objection, I would like to accept warrants 21050, 21051, and 21052. No objections. Okay, those are accepted. I would entertain a motion to accept warrants 21049. Natasha and Jessica are recusing themselves from this vote.
I make a motion to accept warrant 21049.
Second,
Second,
okay. Roll call vote. Mary Branley,
yes.
Bethlyn Houlihan,
Yes.
Lydia Clancy, yes. Okay. Now, urgent business. Do we have any, Brian?
Nope, we're all set to continue.
All right, excellent. And now we get to meet Adam Fowler. Wait, where'd he go? I don't see him anymore. There you are. Hello. Can we unmute him? How are
Hello.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us. We're very, very excited to meet you. So you have the stage.
I wasn't really prepared for this call. Really, I wasn't told to say anything or.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
That's
Well,
okay.
But you showed up anyways. That is
Good for you. Like, yeah, you
fantastic.
could just
That is
listen and hang
awesome.
out.
Wow.
Is there anything you want me to talk about, like specifically?
Maybe, you know, how students are feeling about going back full time next week. Is it next week? Yeah.
I think it's
No,
the
No?
26th.
The
The
high
week
school is a
after?
little bit, yeah, a little
It's
later.
the 26th.
Oh, why did I think it was the 5th? Okay.
That's K5.
Wishful
Yeah, that's
thinking.
elementary.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and as for high school kids, I know that a lot of my friends and a lot of the students that are either fully remote or going 2 days a week are really excited for it. All I've heard is pretty much good things about going back, so that's very exciting.
Natasha, do you want to ask a question?
I don't know if this is something just thinking about how we're heading into spring and spring activities. I've seen, a lot of conversation with parents trying to organize things, and I don't know if you maybe had any update about any grade level happenings that are trying to be prepared as kids do come back, either with seniors or I don't know, any events that are being worked on or with students coming up.
Just different stuff for like kind of stuff that we'd be doing outside of school, different activities like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, or even in school, like I know there's things that we missed last year. So I don't know if there's anything that maybe, people are looking forward to. There's been a lot of buzz about maybe happening that maybe did not happen last year. Anything that we can do to support some of those or get the conversations out to the public on, fundraisers or things that are going on to grade level.
Yeah. So for spring sports, there's going to be baseball, softball, and track. And as for fundraisers, we don't have any planned right now, but just yesterday we had a 110 grill fundraiser, which went really well. And on Wednesday, the student council had a big brainstorming meeting of just a bunch of events and fundraisers that we could do coming back to normalcy, or at least somewhat of a normal school. So we're going to try and get as many fundraisers and stuff out that we can before school ends. And then we've been planning some for the next year as well. So once those ideas start to develop into actual real plans, then I'm sure I can even tell you next week at the meeting, or Kyle or Grace could let you guys know when they have their next meetings.
Yeah, it'd be great to get updates on those as we get, just so we can kind of get the word out in as much as possible. Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for showing up.
Adam, do you know, I thought I saw somewhere that they're sort of planning for the prom, yes or no? Was I dreaming that? For the
He's
junior.
muted again.
Well, I didn't want to ask that because I wasn't sure, but I kind of was wondering, but I didn't want to outright ask. I don't know. I saw Brian cringe a little bit, so I don't want to.
And again, wishful thinking, but because I'm thinking it would only be next month, so probably it's too soon.
No, you are actually not dreaming.
Oh, see?
Prom is in full effect.
All
So
right.
as of right
Uh-oh.
So you're surprising Superintendent Haas. No. Go ahead, keep going.
yeah, so they can't fully commit to a prom and say we are having prom because obviously anything can happen in times like these, but they have sent out emails of, oh, would you go?
Mhm.
What grade or who would you go with for a date? Which grade they'd be in, that kind of thing. And I believe it'd be May 7th, and it'd be in an outdoor tent at the Boxborough Regency in Acton. So
Great.
yeah.
Yeah, that could be really great. Excellent. Thank you for that. I don't want to get you in trouble.
Cohort prom.
Fun stuff. It's fun to talk about.
I as a follow-up from last time, Grace had told us that there were 5 students interested in going to girls' state and boys' state, and there were 3 young ladies who wanted to go, but there was only money for 2. Do you know if any additional funds were raised for the third person?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure me and my friend Patrick are the 2 boys that got into Boys State, and I know the 3 girls also got into Boys State, which is very exciting. If I might be able to pull up an email. Miss LaBelle emailed me all the names of companies that funded it so we could write thank you notes. So if I could, I'm gonna try and pull these up. Can you guys still see me?
Yep.
Yes, we can. Yes. Yep. If you can't find that information, if we could have that next time around, that would be great. Just so that we know that there was enough money. Otherwise, maybe we can try and do something to fund that last student.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure that we're all funded for. There were 3 different sources of funding, so I'm pretty sure we're all gonna be, all 5 of us are funded for. I'm pretty sure.
Great.
So now that I know that you're going to Boys State, I had asked Grace and kind of put her, made her uncomfortable because she didn't know. Can you just briefly just talk about what Boys State and Girls State are all about?
Well, I don't see, I've never experienced it firsthand, but from talking to past Maynard High School students that have gone and just kind of getting a little taste of it through other people, it's a week program at Stonehill.
Maybe Stonehill College.
Stonehill College, where I think everybody sleeps in the dorms, and during the day there's different workshops and classes about government and all stuff of that nature, and it's a good outlet to meet kids with the same interests in you and just kids from different high schools. That's pretty much all I know about it.
Very exciting. That's great. Thank you. It's much more than I knew 10 minutes ago. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Can't wait to hear afterwards. You're going to have to come back and tell us about it.
You'll have fun. A
Yes.
lot of
Yeah.
fun.
I'm sure it'll be a great experience. I can't
We
wait.
do mock government, hearings and things like that. So it's
Really, it's exciting.
Yep. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Adam?
I'm just hoping if Adam could, since this is the first time we're getting to talk to you, do you want to just tell us a little bit about you and how you came to be one of the students representing?
Oh
And
yeah.
just
of
anything
course.
else? Yeah.
Just a little background about me, I guess. I'm a junior at Maynard, obviously, but I ran for student council vice president this past spring, and me and my friend Kyle, who's on the meet, we won vice president and president both as juniors, which is really exciting. And so that being said, we're a pretty big part of student council. We try to be the leaders of that group, and when the opportunity came to be on something like this, we kind of just took it and agreed to it.
Appreciate it.
Great. We appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
We love
Okay.
hearing from you guys.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more too. I'm sure you have things that you're hoping to work on and continue to do as the vice president and president. And I'm sure we'd love to hear a little about that and how you in your own spheres are making some good change for Maynard High School. So
As a last thought, is there anything that we can do to help support the students? Is there anything that's
As of right now, there's nothing on the top of my head.
okay?
Lydia, I know this one thing that came up a while ago, and this is not necessarily with Adam, but I don't know, just to kind of to piggyback on that conversation about the civics component we had talked a lot about how kids can be more engaged. And I would really like to see if there's a way we can get either like our town leaders whitelisted, their email, like so that maybe some seniors can, if they have either whether the product, they can advocate on things that they feel that are important in our town or things that they're hearing about, within their community, that might allow a chain or some type of connection for them to be able to do that with monitoring with the teacher or however that might happen. But I don't know if that's
Brian and I have discussed that, and it's in the works.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
Terrific.
So, all right. Well, Adam, thank you so much for being here. And you're welcome to stay. It's always entertaining, but we totally understand if you have many other things to do. So feel free to stay or go as you please.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
thank you.
All righty. Next, we have citizens' comments. Colleen, do we have any?
No, we have none tonight.
All righty then. It's a easy evening, I guess.
Don't say that.
Okay,
Mm,
I didn't say it. I
You
didn't.
jinxed.
I take it
Jinxed.
back. All right, superintendent's report. Brian.
Excellent. Glad to be here. Good to see everybody. Well, the people that I can see. So Adam's report was spot on. There are a couple of interesting topics coming up. I will tell you, prom has been being planned. They've sold many tickets. They have everything Adam said is absolutely accurate in terms of date and time and things like that. The one kerfuffle that came out today would be guidance from DESE that said they're not supportive of that in a typical way. That doesn't mean that's the end of that discussion. It's part of the discussion. So I've emailed our Board of Health to ask a couple of questions about how could we do that. So one of my questions to her, quite frankly, was, could we ask those who want to attend to take produce a negative COVID test? So we know that, because even if it's outside and it's under a tent, we are talking 130, 140 people. And if you think about prom, you're sitting and you're eating and you're dancing and you aren't 3 to 6 feet apart. That's not prom. So I have some questions out to the Board of Health to find out what they can advise in terms of maintaining health and safety. So it's an open conversation right now. I just want to start with that one.
Thank you for trying to make it work. If we
Yeah.
can. Yeah.
Exactly.
We could do like the balloon in the middle, like how they do back in the 50s when they could dance.
That's a
don't know.
possibility.
Go
I don't
old
know.
school, like a really big balloon.
Holy
Exactly. So we'll work on it. Yeah, I
Okay.
spoke with Principal Karajanis and Principal Caruso today about this topic as well. And they're reaching out to their fellow principals to see what other districts are doing as well. So it's a good conversation that we're in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. MCAS, that was part of the release today as well. The juniors, it looks like they're asking, the commissioner is asking that they actually do not have to take the MCAS, that they would just be pardoned, if you will. If they want to receive the Adams or the Kopnick award, then they would have the option to take it in fall. So that would be up to them, but they wouldn't need it for graduation. Everything else, 10th graders, et cetera, still on at this point. And
Didn't it
again,
get delayed a little bit though? Like,
yeah,
did it
the
move-
timing has changed and the quantity has changed. So it keeps getting delayed. So if we're, if we're lucky, they'll delay it long enough that it will actually be summer. But I'm not counting on that because it's a federal issue, actually, not even a state issue. But that's just an update that literally came a couple of hours ago today. Another quick update, and then I'll get to some more of the meat of this report, if you will, would be shortly we will begin a search for an assistant principal for the Fowler School. That'll be up and coming in the near future. So I just wanted to let people know that. So now we'll get to some things that require a vote. I have many small things, but they require votes. So I need you to pay attention. This one requires a vote. So we've gone around on the calendar. My apologies, the first calendar that was put out inadvertently had the very first day of school after an entire year off on Rosh Hashanah, an important holiday. We didn't do that intentionally. That was an oversight on my part. My apologies. Then we went and looked at what are our options, and we sort of came to, some schools start before Labor Day, some schools start after Labor Day, and Ms. Rivera was nice enough to gather some information and share that. And our current proposal, which we've put out to the Maynard MPS, so not only teachers, but teachers, paraprofessionals, custodians, everybody, and ask them to weigh in on a couple of different options on starting before Labor Day. So I can just tell you, as superintendent, I feel like we need 3 professional development days heading into next year for teachers to really start, for a couple of reasons. One being, we haven't done normal school in over a year, so we need some time to just reset ourselves. And we're implementing a new student information system. So we don't want to rush that. We want to give people time and not try and cram everything into 2 days. There's just so much to do at the beginning of every school year, and this year will be that much more. So 3 days was part of what I needed. And if we were going to ask students to come back prior to Labor Day, it had to be at least 2 days. It didn't make sense to me to have them come for 1 day and then take 4 off. You might as well just not start. So we put out a couple different options, and the option that was supported by 65% of the people who responded, just under 160 people responded, and of those, the 65% supported the option that has, and this is the amended calendar, teachers beginning on Monday, August 30th, and having teachers Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, doing professional development, getting ready for the first day, etc. Those are very packed days. Having students attend on that Thursday and Friday, so 2 days, and then using the Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday as the 4-day holiday. And then everybody's continues on Wednesday. So everybody's still getting a long weekend, and I still get professional development time and student time in a meaningful way. And then that pulls our, just on the other end of the calendar, if you will, it pulls our last day with no snow days back to June 15th.
Can I just add something real quick? Because I was putting all this on the sheet just to consolidate, and I did notice there was a little bit of a discrepancy on the survey. It said about the options. So on your report, it has the option 2 supported by 65%. And it had teachers start Tuesday, the 31st, but I think that was inverted by accident. So I just wanted to highlight that. So the option that was 65% was the one that where the teachers are starting on Monday, the 30th.
Correct.
Okay. And I
noticed that.
Yeah, no, I got a little confused at first. And I did do a sampling, Brian. Thank you for providing that survey. Just to see like what other districts are doing. And I felt like it was very much in line with, what it was. And if you're able to fit in the professional development, I think every district, no one is starting later than the 30th. So I felt that was kind of in line. And also there were no districts that were taking off Friday and the following Tuesday either.
So if you would be so kind as to approve that calendar, I
Yes.
would be happy to move on.
All right, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept option 2 of the 21-22 calendar with the teachers, the staff coming back Monday, the 30th of August, Tuesday, the 31st, Wednesday, the 1st, and the students coming back Thursday, the 2nd of September, Friday, the 3rd of September, and then their next day will be Wednesday, September 8th.
And making the last day of school.
Making the last day of school, Wednesday, June 15th.
I'll second.
All right, roll call vote.
Wait, I
Natasha,
just had one discussion piece just to
Okay.
add to that. Because I was gonna try to put something together, just in light of just kind of our informing all of us and making us all aware. I did want to, and I started putting on the page when I did the sampling, looking at other districts' calendars and how inclusive they were with dates of observation. So I wanted to just see if we could not changing the content dates, but also approve this with the understanding that we will have it reflect an inclusive format.
that
Like
one,
on a page 2,
What does that
Like
mean
a-
exactly?
like dates of observation or
oh, are
holidays,
you
or
you're talking about the religious holiday calendar that we're gonna.
yeah,
put
just have
together.
days of observance like
Right,
on a
yeah.
second page. So I just wanted to see if that would be part of our amendment to the calendar, that we will approve it with the recommendation, but also with the caveat that we add language to highlight days of observance on it going forward.
I see what you're saying and I don't disagree. I just think that it confuses things. I think because we weren't expecting to vote on that, and I'm just, I don't have a problem with it. I just feel like that is a separate discussion unto itself.
And I thought we were going to put those different holidays on the back side of the calendar or something, just more so that the teachers can be aware.
That's what I'm saying. Like it would be just like a second page or something, but like the backside, not on the calendar itself, but
Right.
just
Yeah,
to,
no, I thought we already agreed we were going to do that.
I just want to make sure as part of this vote that's what it is. That's all I'm asking, is that we that whatever that is part of the approved calendar would be, that it will also reflect a page that includes days of observance as part of that calendar.
Okay, so Jennifer.
Oh,
So basically what you'd want to do, Natasha, is make an amendment to the motion. And then Lydia, you would vote on the amendment and then you would vote on the main motion.
Okay.
who made the motion though? Do they need to amend it?
No,
Right,
you
or-
need to make the amendment to the motion.
Okay, so then I will make a motion to amend. I guess I'm gonna amend the motion, or I'm gonna request the motion be amended.
You amend it yourself. We vote on your amendment and then we vote on the main motion.
Okay, all right. Well, I will amend the motion that we accept the recommendation, option 2, to start all of what Mary said, and that it also be reflected on an inclusive format to highlight days of observance that are important for community members.
Multicultural days of and right.
Yes, it's yes, accommodate, or yes, religious days of observance.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Do we have a discussion?
Just noting that I think for me, when you say that, that means what we've already discussed doing on the back page, as opposed to anything new or different, just that same thing that's already been discussed.
Yeah, it would be like like a second page.
Okay.
Okay, roll call vote. Natasha Rivera,
Yes.
Bethlyn Houlihan,
Yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Mary Branley, Lydia Clancy. Yes, Mary, I didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, now we need to vote on the motion. Do I have a second for that motion?
I think we already did, and then we were already in discussion. So now
Oh,
we do.
okay, so
a roll call vote on it.
discussions, and then we did the amendment. We voted on the amendment. So are there any further discussions on the vote? No. Excellent. Roll call vote. Mary Branley,
Yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Bethlyn Houlihan,
Yes.
Natasha Rivera,
Yes.
Lydia Clancy. Yes. Okay. So that's done.
I hope Colleen got all that.
She can go back and watch the recording if she didn't.
And
Which,
then for surveying everyone to get that done and figure that out again and have to go back to that drawing board. Thank
yeah, yes, thank you. And Brian, you shouldn't take the fall for that entirely. We all missed it. I mean, it escaped all of us. So
And that's why just the formatting is like, even for my own awareness, I just feel like we just need to be really deliberate and call it out to our attention and, just have it as a tool, as a reminder for all of us that use that so much. So yes, definitely not only on you, Brian. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank
When
you.
we were having the conversation, I said to Brian, gee, I'm Catholic and I don't even know when Easter is. So there you go. I do now, but
I remembered last week, actually. I did the same thing.
it's that kind of a year. What can I tell you?
yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Next vote.
Next vote would be, and this, so I see Mr. Ferrante on screen. He can wave. I'm waving to him. He could say hello. So the record, so we've talked, I've talked with you. So I would formally recommend that Mr. Ferrante be transitioned from our interim Director of Student Services to the permanent Director of Student Services, pending contract negotiations.
All right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Before we make a motion, or do we?
You could, I mean, I think you can ask questions as part of the discussion after a motion has been made. I'm getting the nod.
Okay.
So let's do that. I will entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to switch to, how do I state that?
Well, that's what I was kind of questioning.
James, do you want me to
Interim-
say it? Do you want me to state it? And then you can just say
Yes.
so
Will be
moved?
new
Yeah.
contract
Okay.
starting effective
right.
now, or?
Okay, I make a motion that we vote to approve the change of status for Jeff Ferranti from interim Director of Student Services to permanent Director of Student Services, effective immediately and pending contract negotiations.
I will second.
Oh, go ahead.
I will
All right.
second.
Discussion.
My only question would be that, and I think it's, first, I think it's a great, I'm very, very pleased. So thank you for the recommendation. Thank you, Ms. Ferrante. Great year. My only question is, so this would be the pending, so this contract would supersede the existing contract. That's what we're saying, right? So it would be, that prior contract would be kind of null and void. This would pick up effective. Are we hoping to have it effective on a particular day, or is it just,
Yes.
okay?
I mean,
July
we could,
1st.
so July 1 would be the effective date.
So it's a July 1 contract and not effective immediately.
I
No,
would-
the status change is effective immediately pending the successful contract negotiations, which we will vote upon, but the contract itself will not begin until July 1st.
Got it.
All right.
And I just want to make a comment that we've all had the opportunity to speak with Jeff, and I appreciated that opportunity to be able to consider his candidacy. So thank you.
Yes, and CPAC also, I know that was part of the, Brian has engaged CPAC, and I just want to, the record, highlight that was, also very greatly appreciated that outreach to solicit that feedback, and also had feedback, positive things to say in proceeding forward with this direction. So
Okay. So we've done our discussion. Roll call vote. We ready? All right. Mary Branley,
Absolutely, yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Bethlyn Houlihan,
YES, yes.
Natasha Rivera,
yes,
Lydia Clancy, yes. Congratulations,
Thank you very
Jeff.
much. Thank you very much.
Yay. Oh,
oh, is that
that's
celebration
like
noise in the
that
background?
sounds
That's celebration.
celebratory.
I know.
Those are good sounds.
All right. Next vote.
I'm just going to go to I'm going to skip one just momentarily to ask
Okay.
for a vote to conditionally approve a out-of-state band trip, which you have in the report. That this is not a new thing. This is a very typical thing. Either going to this particular one is to go to Disney World in April of 2022. The reason I'm asking now, and I know it seems kind of funny because no one's traveling, but this is, if I would ask for conditional approval so they can start fundraising and making all the arrangements. And if things change to the negative in terms of travel and health and safety metrics, obviously we wouldn't be traveling at that point anyway. So the sort of the background is within the report, but I think most of you probably know that already. So
And for them to
That's what
have
I would
something
ask.
to look forward to.
yes,
Can I ask a question, Brian?
yeah.
My only concern is that they will, at what point do they put up money and would it be refundable? That would be, I just would hate to have people putting up, money and then not getting it refunded. I can't imagine that happening because the only reason that they wouldn't go would be because of COVID spikes. So
Right.
I just would like to, and I'm sure I'm sure they're looking into that.
I'm confident they have. I don't know specifically the dates or that. At this point, I think they're really looking at simply the fundraising aspect of it. But I will bring that back to the group to make sure they're aware of that, and I can update next time.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure they are. But again, I just, they work so hard at this fundraising. It's a lot of money. So
So would it be contingent on a Board of Health approval, or what is the contingent, like what is your measure? Is it like the CDC guidance or state guidance? What is that contingent piece?
So for me, it's if the governor were to say there's, schools are,
Okay.
fully remote and there's no travel. But in all seriousness, we would, and I am, we'll obviously continue to work with the Board of Health. And if there's a major concern, that will be used as well.
Okay. Do I
And what
have
happens, I mean,
Oh.
if it gets canceled? That's the other part too. Like
If what? I'm sorry.
if it does, like for some reason doesn't, like kind of to Mary's point, what happens to those funds that are collected and they get put aside for maybe later, or?
I can find that out. I don't know exactly depending on the fundraising mechanism. So I don't want to say something that's not accurate.
Okay. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional approval for the band trip for 2021 to 2022. Is that right? I'm reading that right?
That's
letter
just
C?
April vacation of 2022.
Oh, okay, April vacation of 2022. That's it.
I can second.
Okay, discussion? No. All right, roll call. Bethlyn,
Yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Natasha Rivera,
Yes.
Mary Branley,
Yes.
Lydia Clancy. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Going.
I know. Well, we have one more. That's it. And this is an important one, a little bit of a review, a little bit of new information. The topic would be preschool, just program enrollment and tuition. And the part that we'll be asking you to vote on would be the revised tuitions to support the new programming model. So Jennifer's going to sort of explain where we're headed with this and where we're at with our latest enrollment numbers and what the revised tuition amounts are to support that programming. So
Here we go. So thank you, Mr. Haas. One of the things that we want to do as we are giving presentations is to really make sure that we are centering all of our efforts around our strategic plan. So this is a document that we have shared many times at school committee, and we want to make sure that we continue in all of our community presentations to really just anchor the information within the context of our strategic plan. So for our preschool programming, this is really about providing the foundation for superior academic experience for our students. So this is the information that we had shown to you all a few months ago. So we will be having two components of our program this year. We will have a 3-day program and a 5-day program. Both of those programs will have half and full day options. They will continue with the high quality programming that our preschool has provided in the past. In addition, we will be offering specials in PE, music, and library. To give you an update on enrollment, these are our current enrollment numbers. So you can see the full day and the half day. We did want to provide some context, comparing numbers. However, making the move between one program of 4 days to these two separate programs, the comparisons were getting a little muddy. So essentially what I can tell you, I spoke with Patty Tuhig, who is the team chair and oversees the preschool programming, Principal Rouleau, who thankfully is on the call with us tonight, and Mr. Ferrante this morning. And it looks like we've got about 5 community seats left for tuition. So we know that we have some students that will be likely requiring some special education preschool programming. And when we account for all of that, we've got about 5 community seats left, which is very exciting. And this is the part that we are asking for your endorsement on tonight, which is the tuitions for the 5-day program and the 3-day program. As we mentioned at the last meeting, this tuition, the way we came up with this tuition was twofold. First, what we did was we looked at what it would cost in terms of increasing the programming with an extra classroom and the extra day, and calculated that out. We then also compared that pricing with our regional public programs so that we were not out of line. We are, for example, as I mentioned, a little bit lower than Sudbury, a little bit higher than Acton. So we tried to make sure that we were being fiscally responsible, not only to the operating budget, but also to our community members who will be paying for the program as well.
Jennifer, do you have those comparisons or those numbers by chance?
For other districts, we have
Like the cost analysis of like what it would be. I know that was something that we kind of got up last time, but
we have them. I believe Mr. Rouleau has them. We can email them out to folks.
Great.
I know I also just looked at CHAPS because I know when Michelle Resendez was here, that Hudson came up quite often because they're doing such a great job also. And they're a little bit more annually for the full day, 5 days, but they also have the kids go a little bit later in the day. So I felt like we were right on track with them, which was great.
Right. Anyone else? Any other questions?
I only had a question about the program itself, just for some feedback about the enrollment, how it's working with kids who are currently enrolled, and how does that work with determining, I guess, first pick or any of that? That's just my own understanding. I'm curious. I know some parents have had questions about that. Is there a way that that's done differently if you're a current student versus, is it like redone every year the same, or how does that determine your first pick if you're a current student or not?
Mr. Rouleau, do you want to
Sure.
talk through
Be
that?
happy to. So thank you very much, everybody. And we are delighted in order to move forward to a 5-day program. We believe that it's going to be very beneficial to the students and community members. My aspect, obviously, is to make sure educationally that's going to be sound for the children that come through the Maynard Public Schools. One of the ways that we did that in order to answer the question is we put out a survey to all parents. We gave it to students who were in our 3- and 4-year-old program that were with us, primarily the 3-year-olds because they would be returning to us. The 4-year-old children would be going to kindergarten. But the 3-year-old children that were there and anybody else that was there, we sent that home actually prior to opening up registration. So they had that opportunity in order to have their choices. First, every community member, just so you know, who had asked, received their very first choice. We asked for parents to have 3 choices, return those in at a dedicated time period. We took those out, and the staff, along with Patty Tuig, sat down and they went through every single member of the registrations, and they plotted them and put them out, and then we returned information to parents in a dedicated time period. So we were able to do this, and we're very proud of that. But they did have that opportunity first, being our first year with that. I would say that worked out very well.
Terrific.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposed preschool tuition for a 5-day and 3-day with full day and half day options for the 2021 to 2022 school year.
I have a
We-
second.
I will second.
Should
All
we indicate what those amounts are? Because,
I said
Uh,
as proposed.
oh,
Yeah, as
okay.
proposed in that, yeah, the
Oh, I didn't know if the public heard, I'm sorry, just
um,
shared with the pub, because I think we got this late, so I didn't know if it was shared.
It was on the screen, the share that
yeah,
she'd shared it on the screen. Does that,
Oh, I didn't know if it was needed to be part of the motion either.
so 5-day, half day at 4,500, full day at 9,000, 3-day, half day 2,700, full day 5,400.
okay. Any additional discussion?
I just wanted to say thank you, Jennifer and Rob. Really, we've been working, this has been a long process and really something that we've been hoping for. So thank you for doing all the hard work to really implement it next year.
And thank you to the preschool
And
Mhm.
Mhm.
teachers and
absolutely.
program for being excited about this and working hard to get this put together and coordinated all. So
All
we-
during a pandemic too, so just,
Yeah, Rob and I make spreadsheets. They are doing the programming and the teaching of the students, and they are very excited to be able to expand and open up our program to more students.
Yes.
That's so
awesome. Thank you so much.
Okey doke. Roll call vote. Mary Branley,
Yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Bethlyn Houlihan,
Yes.
Natasha Rivera,
Yes.
Lydia Clancy. Yes. Okay. Woo, that was fun. Okay. Now, do you have anything else, Brian?
I don't know, I'm kind of on a roll. I wish I had something else for you to vote on.
Make something
Yeah.
up.
It's April Fool's Day. None of these votes count.
Oh, geez, Mary.
Oof, that was painful.
We did it.
Oh my
No,
God.
Thank you for the support of all
Colleen,
those
mute
items.
her, please.
No,
All right.
We're good, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, Chair's report. And since the superintendent stole my thunder about the MCAS, I'll just cross that right off. And so all I have to talk about really is the select board meeting and the solar array project. I don't know which of the school committee members may have listened to or watched the meeting. Natasha and I attended last week's select board meeting and the discussion about the solar array. A final decision was not made last week. There's still a lot that needs to be determined and clarified. The select board asked us to hold a special meeting this week so that we could discuss our position and our recommendation. The special meeting was supposed to take place on Tuesday, but we received information on Monday that indicated we needed to carefully consider our position. And so after determining that a vote at this time would be premature, we canceled the meeting. Currently, we are seeking answers to and clarification of several facets of the project. Once the school committee and administration have performed our due diligence, we will resume discussions and re-engage the community for feedback. So that is where it stands currently. If you do have questions, we are always available. If you want to email us and ask us, there's a lot of stuff flying around about this topic, and getting your information from the source is much better than getting it from Facebook. So that's all I have. And the next thing we have is, do we have Miss Piccarelli? Do we see her?
She's not listed by name. If she's here, she can maybe raise her hand.
Mm-mm.
Let's move on. Oh, you're gonna call him.
Hello?
Jen,
Yeah.
did you want to join us in the meeting tonight?
What meeting is it?
Just say that's definitely an effective strategy.
Yeah, I think though it's because we're in a public meeting, I wonder if that we should take a recess or something, or I don't know, it feels.
Yeah, I don't think you're anything that done in the public meeting is technically supposed to be.
Yeah, I think
Public.
we have to unmute Lydia. Lydia,
Yeah, put me on. I don't know why. I swear to God.
Hey,
that was-
Lydia.
Yeah, we need to, I'll talk to you later, okay?
You go ahead. Okay.
Okay, bye. She had it down for next Thursday. So we'll have to do this another
Oh.
time. Okay, what were you gonna say, Bethlyn?
Just that whatever you're saying, when you do the communication during the public meeting, that all is public record, just so you're aware.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, we won't be getting a brief from Jen Picarelli. And school choice enrollment, we are not ready to discuss or vote on that. So that is going to be tabled. So next we have our quarterly financial.
do we need a vote to table those since they were on the agenda? Or
You can just say
without objection?
Mhm.
Without objection, I would like to table until a future time, the school choice enrollment vote. Okay, no objection. Wayne is now going to give us our quarterly financial report. If he's unmuted.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I think the school committee received a copy of this before tonight. I hope that was the case. But as you know, Brian and I have been working with Mary and Natasha to come up with something that would both inform you as a school committee without overwhelming you with numbers, but yet provide you with enough information and detail to allow you to do your duty as a school committee to provide oversight to the school district. So this is our first draft, if you will. It can be a living document, and if you determine that there are adjustments that need to be made, certainly that is a possibility. So one of the things I did in terms of format, I started with a narrative to kind of give you my thoughts in general of what's going on in the district, and then I provided some numbers. First of all, the numbers are from approximately March 15th for the operating budget. And some definitions. When I say operating budget, that is the money that is appropriated from the town. Because as you know, we have different sources of funding. In general, it's the town appropriation, or as I call the operating budget. Some people refer to it as the general ledger. Then there are grants and there are revolvers, of which we make up our total budget. So when I use the term operating budget, I'm talking about the money that is appropriated from the town. So in the first paragraph, and I won't go through this line by line because you all have it, but I do a quick review of where we started out with the original budget, which was about this time last year before I came on board. and that there were 2 reductions to that budget to get us down to $20,027,338. We used along the way the coronavirus relief fund to help absorb some of the blow of one of those reductions, and that we got permission to use that to offset some salaries that were used for professional development. So that helped us. And that was kind of at the start of the year. So again, the reduction in the budget, 2 of them, and getting some relief by being able to use a grant to offset some of the salaries. Now, because we did use the grant like that, that grant was not available for Brian to do maybe some other things that he would have done if he didn't have to do that. So that's the overview. And then I talk about the operating budget in general. And again, I will not go through everything here, but the bottom line is that when you get to the numbers, you're going to see that when you look at everything, there is a negative balance currently of $739,414. A large part of that imbalance is due to the underfunding or the unanticipated expenses from special education tuitions. And we'll see that a little later. And I talk about one of the reasons my hair isn't on fire about seeing that is we have potentially 2 sources of funding that can cover that. One of which is circuit breaker. We'll talk a little bit more about circuit breaker and what that is and what that means, and school choice, which is a revolving account that is set up to help offset some special education expenses. But in general, you need to know the circuit breaker reimbursements are received by the district generally in 4 payments. This year, for us, they're approximately $286,000 each. We have about $980,000 right now sitting in our circuit breaker account, with 1, possibly 2 more payments that will be expected to come in. Moving along, as I said, operating budget is one source of funding. Another is revolving accounts, and I'll get in and show you numbers for all of these, but this is just kind of an overview. So the revolving accounts contain line items listing for major revolving accounts. And just a quick background, a revolving account is not appropriated by the town. The revenues in a revolving account arrive there as a result of revenues coming in. For example, if the building use revolver, the way the revenues come into that account is from us renting our facilities or allowing people to use our facilities and charging them for that. Revolving accounts, usually the funds are used that closely align with the way the revenues are generated. So building use funds and the rental of our facilities, that money goes into the building use revolver, and then it gets used for the maintenance of the facilities and the grounds. And while I'm talking about that, I believe that's one of the things that I highlighted is that account has little or nothing in it. That's important in the fact that the maintenance of the district is not completely supported by the operating budget. All districts, no matter what across the Commonwealth, but also in this district, you lean on that heavily for the kind of this broke, that broke, we need to do this in terms of maintaining the facilities. So the fact that because of the COVID environment, we have not been able to rent out any of our facilities, that lack of income is a severe blow to the district. Two other revolving accounts I just call out is a preschool balance of approximately $30,000. To some, that may seem like a lot of money, but it isn't. Historically, money out of there is to get them started. Sometimes some salaries come out of that. Again, because the program was offline, there were no funds, no revenue coming into that account. So running the district in many ways is like a business. You know, we need to take in money in order to fund what we do. I know to some people talking about a public institution like running a business, but that's why they started allowing more people like me from the private sector coming into these positions, because in essence, that is what you're doing. I'm running your business for you and protecting your checkbook, hopefully. And then I mentioned school choice. I talked about a little bit earlier that school choice is a revolving fund that primarily is there for educational type things with the students, but often it gets used to help, again, offset some of the special education costs. And I've spoken to, excuse me, I've spoken to you as a committee a couple of times before about the rate of growth of the expenses for special education far outpacing our reimbursement and our funding. So those two accounts are very important to us. The last major area of funding are grants. And that's it. In addition to our normal entitlement grants, we receive several grants to help the district navigate either reopening or providing instruction during the pandemic. I think many people are aware of some of the acronyms and names that you've heard in terms of the CARES grant, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3. I'll talk a little bit more about those when I show you the numbers. But we've spent a lot of money on, one, opening the school. Slowly, Brian has brought more students back into the school. That has caused us to incur more expenses in terms of trying to make sure students are safe, things are sanitized, and we've been very fortunate to have many of these corona or COVID-related types of grants to offset some of these expenses, because without them, we would be running a much larger deficit than we would have planned for, because we just wouldn't have had the money. So if I keep moving and go to the next page, Colleen, if we could get into the numbers. So what I have here is kind of a highlight top line picture. And what I have on the far left are the DESE group code numbers, the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. These numbers are from what's called the chart of accounts. It is a chart set up by the Department of Education so that no matter what district you're in, the 1,000s all contain the same thing. The 2,000s all contain the same thing. That's how we business managers then do our end of year report, and DESE can collate the data. And down below this, before I get into the numbers, I provided you with kind of a legend, if you will, that in the 1,000s, for example, the types of things that are in there, the types of expenses, school committee, the superintendent's in there, the assistant superintendent, legal expenses, some IT stuff, the 2,000s, what's in there, the 3,000s, the 4,000s, for example, are building expenses, you know, the heating, gas, the electricity, their custodial salaries, supplies, building and grounds maintenance, that type of thing. 5,000 and the 9,000s are special education payments. If you also, I broke out the legal expenses. There are two cost centers, not cost centers, that's not the right term, because that's confusing, it's something else. There are two code groups, DESE code groups, that have legal expense lines associated with them. One is the superintendent's office and the other one is SPED. And I have broken those out for you so that you can see those. Those are on the sheet. Just below, I mentioned, you see the numbers, the DESI code groups, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, then we jump to 9,000. As I said, those code numbers are associated with specific types of expenses. And so I annotated at the bottom that there are no listings for the 6,000, 7,000, or 8,000 series DESI codes in our particular budget. That's because the district doesn't have expenses in this area. And if you look, you see that the 6,000s, what they represent, those are community types of expenses. 7,000s is the acquisition, improvement, and replacement of fixed assets. And 8,000 is debt retirement. So I don't have those numbers listed because we don't have those types of expenses. If we can go to the next page, please. So this is kind of an eye chart, but this is a listing by grouping. The 1,000s are together, the 2,000s, the 3,000s, etc. And the columns are the budget. That is the appropriated from the town and what you approve, the budget. The next column is the what we spent to date. And I'm going to switch to language that I use. It makes it easy for me to understand. So the budget is what I have in my checking account. The account year to date is what I have spent. And an encumbrance is a check that I have written that hasn't cleared the bank yet, but I put it in my, what do you call that? I don't use a paper anymore. I use electronic. What is it? That thing that you write your
Check register.
Register. Thank you. The encumbrance is a check that I've written that it's in my register, but hasn't cleared my bank yet. And the budget balance is the net of all of that. So that will help you as you go from left to right to kind of read what they are. And I'm not going to go through the eye chart, but if you just go down to the bottom, Colleen, of this page, again, on the far left-hand side, what I showed you is, if you look down, it says 20,442,760. Again, I talked about that was the original budget that the district was given, appropriated by the town. And then there was a reduction of 150,000. I think you guys know better than me. I wasn't here about last spring. And then there was the 265,422 that we're all aware of that occurred in the early fall. And so our current budget as it sits is at 20,027,338. And so there is that negative number that I was telling you about that, and you can just look up above and see, some of the areas in red that are causing, that, and that payment to other schools at 9,000, obviously those are all SPED tuitions. And again, that's the driver, and that, again, if enough money is not appropriated to those lines, you go over, and as you all know, we are required to pay SPED bills regardless. And, at some point later, I will move money from circuit breaker to the operating budget to cover this. And also I will be coming to you to ask permission to what I call rebalance the budget, to move, if line A has a surplus of say $1,000 and line B has a deficit, I will come to you with a list to ask permission to move that line from A to B to smooth out the budget. So that will be coming. Colleen, next page. So then these are some of our more major grants. Many of them have to do with special education. All grants have a number because it's hard to remember the names or whatever. And so whenever I refer to them or I talk to anybody, or even often when I talk to Jeff or even Jennifer about them, I'll refer to their number. For example, I'll say the 140 grant or the 262 grant. And that's an easy way to refer to a specific grant without having to remember all of these names. And so here I've listed the what they were allocated and what's been expended. I don't have an end date for them because most grants are on a 27-month rotation. So you don't have to spend them all, say, for example, by June 30th of this year. And I work closely with all these grants. I work closely either with Jennifer or with Jeff in terms of, hey, excuse me, how much money you have left, and you need to spend this first, this second, etc. So it requires a close relationship and monitoring these and managing budgets and putting in amendments and things of this nature. I want to point out the bottom half of these grants, if you begin at the CVRF, which is a school reopening grant, same thing here. You get confused. They all have numbers that I refer to. The 102 grant was that grant that I told you that we used to offset the salaries that we had at the beginning of school. We have used all of that money, that PD and the salaries, excuse me, used all of that money. And then we have ESSER 1, 2, and 3, which are part of the CARES Act. The town has money under CARES, and they refer to it as CARES. CARES on the school side is called ESSER. So that is the school side under the larger umbrella of CARES. So for ESSER 1, you see that how much money is allocated and how much we have spent to date. ESSER 2, same thing. ESSER 3 hasn't been assigned a number. That was just signed by President Biden, I believe. And so we have an estimate of how much money that the district is going to receive that has not been confirmed. But we do know the dates on that. And then the other grant that I want to talk about in the same breath is the Coronavirus Prevention Grant. That grant we just got, that's a state grant that we just got not too long ago. I have the footnote there that this grant was awarded in the third quarter of this year. And we just got the first payment at the end of February. So that grant, we haven't even had the money very long. And then we're going to get a second payment of $25,600. And again, I work closely with Jennifer on this grant, and that we, based on when these grants are going to expire, we have to, for example, spend the money in the coronavirus prevention grant first. Then we go to the ESSER 1 grant, then the ESSER 2, then the ESSER 3. You're not supposed to spend money, for example, out of ESSER 2 until you use all the money out of ESSER 1. So that is a highlight of the grants. If we move on now, Colleen, to the revolving accounts. And again, revolving accounts, there are positives and negatives to a revolving account. The positives of a revolving account is that unlike the operating budget, that you either spend or lose that money by the end of the year on June 30th. A revolving account can cross fiscal years. So that's a good thing. The downside to revolving accounts is they may or may not have restrictions on how you use that money. For example, circuit breaker is a revolving account. I can carry it from year to year, but I can't replace windows out of the circuit breaker account. I can only use it for sped expenses. And they are here, as you see. Oh, the other thing about revolving accounts is while you can carry them forward from year to year, you can't carry them forward with a negative balance. So like, for example, I had a call today with Fresh Picks, our food service company, that our school revolving account has a negative balance. And I think we mentioned this, Brian and I might have mentioned this to you before, but I'll mention again, the food service or the lunch program is self-sufficient. There is little to no money from the operating budget dedicated to funding the food service program. It runs off of the revenue that we receive from either paid lunches or the reimbursements that we receive from the federal government, the United States Department of Agriculture, which runs the school lunch program, and the state or DESE. So that's how we get reimbursed. And that's also too, giving out with the pandemic, we got permission from USDA to provide meals to students even when they weren't in school. And I think we briefed the committee previously on the fact that we were going in a van. We had 5 pickup points in the district where we would go and drop off breakfast and lunches to, according to USDA, anyone under the age of 18 in the district, whether they were registered in the Maynard Public Schools or not. The goal was no child was to go hungry. And we didn't have to keep track of names like we normally do. We just had to keep track of the count, and we would be reimbursed for those meals. And we had a very robust program. And when I talk to my colleagues in other districts, they are suffering bigger losses than we are. And I think a good contributor to why we didn't suffer some of those losses is because of this program. And we are still doing that as of right now. And we will continue to do that. And I got a meal count. And since November, between the drop and go bags and in school, we have served over 22,000 meals in the district. So I think that's quite an accomplishment. And so the last thing about this page is down below, I kind of gave a legend because some of the revolvers, I think, are kind of obvious what they're for or what they're about. Others I put down here to give an explanation. Again, circuit breaker we've talked a lot about. That's primarily special education. So is the SPED Reserve Fund. The difference is the SPED Reserve Fund, you need town permission to dip into that. School lunch revenues, we talked about that, where the money comes from and how that's spent. Excel, I think you knew that was derived from the child care program, which no longer is in existence. Alternative student, money from gifts, donations, expenses. And so you can, expenses that benefit students, that has a very broad use, if you will, in terms of how you can use that money. School choice is just what it says. That's money we receive from people school choicing into the district. Student fee is just what it says, fees collected for student activities. Foreign exchange, I don't think because of COVID, much of that was going on, but again, it wasn't going on since I've been here before I understand that is revenue from the foreign exchange students hosting. Expenses then are generally those related to supporting that exchange program activities and pay school-related fees for the exchange students. Spanish immersion there, and then transportation and lost book. So that's kind of the report and the format that working with the budget subcommittee we came up with, and hopefully that gave you a flavor of what's going on in the district without being too confusing, but yet gave you enough information that you can properly do what you need to do. Are there any questions?
Wayne, this is fabulous. Thank you so much. So much. This is really, I mean, just the thoroughness and, the fact that you gave us legends and explain terminology and whatnot. This is really, thank you so much. This is fantastic.
I think one of the things that we kind of, just to add for everyone's awareness too, is that we haven't, it was a lift for Wayne and team to do. So one of the things we still have to decide is the frequency on how we want to do this to make sure the timing doesn't impede operations like budget season and whatnot. So that's just still kind of in the works yet, but this was, I think, really great to get out. So I just wanted to add that to it.
But Brian and I had a discussion. We think, like July, October, January, and March. July, in a perfect world, we would, if we haven't already closed the year, it'll be close. So that would kind of give you at least a pre-snapshot of the end of the year. The reality is you're not going to know 100%, but it'll, that's what July would do. October, you will have closed out the year. You'll know exactly where you are and, kind of how we kicked off the current school year. And then January, that's like your halfway point through the year. And then March, about this time, we haven't formally presented that to the subcommittee yet, but that's kind of what I was thinking.
That's great. So I'm going to go through. Mary, do you want to say anything or ask anything?
Just how grateful we are to have this. It's so succinct and simple and just does a great job. So it just makes our life easier too. So thank you to Wayne and everybody else. I know Brian had input, Jennifer, I'm sure Jeff did. I don't know who else, but thank you to, I'm sure Colleen did too. As Colleen sort of at the base of everything, but much appreciated. We're gonna, be able to really utilize this. It's a great tool. So thank you.
Jessica?
Yeah, no questions, but greatly appreciated. It's very helpful to have a tool like this. And thank you for all of you for taking the time to compile it and get it put together.
Bethlyn?
Yeah, I second what everyone said. I think that this will be really helpful for, especially for those that aren't on the subcommittee and trying to convey like where are we at. Let's get a snapshot. Let's see, like get the whole picture, and to have that like this, it's extremely helpful. And then to refer back to that and see how we're doing. I really appreciate your suggestion of doing this almost quarterly at particular points. I don't know if it actually ends up being quarterly, but and then March seems like a great point as you're getting ready for the budget hearing and kind of that final. And then just the different time points seem really great, because we also, by the time we get to January, that's it. Like it's pretty much has to be done. So we have to start those budget conversations early to be able to formulate the budget in the first place. So all of it just is fantastic. And we all know that this is the foundation of everything that we do. So the way that you're able to translate it for us, Wayne, and I think for the community, so that we're all aware of what we're looking at. I also really appreciate looking at the grants and seeing laid out just right there, like each and every grant that we have coming up in relation to the relief funding and also other grants. Is kind of exciting to see some of the others too. But to kind of get a sense of what is coming down the pike and how that the methodology that has to go into how we spend that money, and the project manager in me is just like just wonking out over this. I love it. So, but I think truly it really helps us. This is an excellent tool for us to do our job and to be able to share with others that need to understand too, with the rest of the others in the town. I think it's extremely helpful for the community and for other leaders too. So I don't have anything else to suggest. I think you did an excellent job of running through it too. I really think it's making sure that it can stay effective and also not be a huge lift for you all. Now that you've done it, I mean, I guess it's easier to plug in figures moving forward.
Well, thank you. Natasha, did you have anything else? I didn't know if you spoke before. I didn't know if you had anything else you wanted to.
No, just, I mean, obviously the appreciation, and just to echo everyone else. And I think one of the things hearing this year, and you being on the subcommittee last year as well, is that I found that a lot of the missing, and Bethlyn touched on this, is other people aren't really familiar with how our story is coming to play through the year. And so I think that is where Mary and I were talking about, like the commentary seemed to be very critical, right? Because we're highlighting the trends that we're seeing, and we're documenting them, we're creating that historical account on there. So it's demonstrating how the decision making is being informed in a way that maybe hasn't been felt before. I mean, even though we know it's happened, but I think the public has been felt removed from that, or maybe even other boards. And I think that part is really helpful, that commentary that continuously highlights, okay, we're you know, this is what we're starting to see, and how we're addressing that, or how we're not able to address that. So I think that part was really, really helpful to convey. Also, I hope that this will, through budget planning in years to come, as we make this very part of our financial health, it will convey the financial history that other boards might be looking for, right? Or public, how are these particular lines, trending? And it's not where you're moving the goalposts with different measurements. You have the same lines and measurements, and you're monitoring them in a very consistent way. So I think that was really important too, where we're not just randomly pulling bits of data that sometimes don't tell that big picture. And I found that that's been sometimes what it feels like a little bit. We're like, oh, let's look at this, or let's look at that, and it's really the bigger picture. It's kind of more of a larger picture that doesn't really play into. So I think I'm hoping that that's what this will help us a little bit. And help Brian and Wayne as they engage with through budget season, so people can understand where the decision making is going and where our needs are more so. And I think we just need to also decide on how, now that we have this tool, for one, the lift. I think that was the one part we wanted to maybe more understand with Wayne and Brian at some point. It sounds like they're comfortable doing it 4 times a year, and I think that was initially the intent, but I think I think that's maybe room for consideration if there's budget season, like January I know is really tough for budget season, so we don't want it to impede the process of the other, because it's a small finance team. I mean, let's be real, it's not a lot of people who are doing this, and so but I the thought was really great there. And then also, how do we share this information, I think, is the other part that's yet to be decided. What is the best mechanism that we were able to provide feedback, or the standing, and it may spawn some questions. It's new, so I think we recognize that people may get questions like, hey, because this is the first pass at it, and I think once people feel confident and see how that's going, that confidence in our community, it will build, and resonate in how we're being transparent in all those pieces. So anyway, that's all I really had. And just if there's anyone feedback on the formatting, I think that was really what I think we wanted to hear. I don't know if there's anything from the board members on.
I'm thinking that can be taken offline, and people can email suggestions and things, just so that we can keep things moving at this point. So
Lydia, I have to get going.
I know.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But
have a good evening.
Thank you, everyone too. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I have to head out.
All right.
All right.
Let the minutes reflect. Bethlyn is leaving at 8:41. Wayne, thank you so much. Thank you. Great job. Love it. Brian, thank you so much. And Jennifer and Jeff, if you contributed to, nope, not at all. All right, Colleen, thank you so much. Now we go to policy, because we've put it off for so long. So in reviewing our meeting minutes, we actually already approved IKF. So we can take that one right off.
I thought the only extra piece was the fine arts.
Well, we approved it with the caveat that fine arts was going to get amended or added to it. And so we are happy to report that we did include fine arts in the graduation requirements. So that is.
So I'm so happy to have the additions just in.
Yeah.
A really good thing. So.
Okay, so on to JIC 550 replaces 550 student discipline. We did no further edits or additions. The concerns that Natasha expressed before will be addressed in a JIC-P, which is procedure. And that will include age and ability appropriate protocols. So, are there any additional questions on JIC? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I can make a motion that we accept policy JIC, student discipline, that replaces Maynard School Committee policy 550.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Do we have a discussion? No. Alrighty then.
I have a
Roll call.
question about like the
Yes.
the protocol one. Is that something that we would be able to see when Brian does that? I'm just, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know if that was, because normally we don't like approve the protocols, but I'm just curious because this one did have some sensitivities that some members were.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
All right. So roll call vote, Mary Branley,
Yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
and Natasha Rivera,
Yes,
Lydia Clancy. Yes. All right. Excellent. The next one we have is new JK student conduct. It was adopted when we did the bulk adoption on the 30th of January in 2020. We have amended it to, and if you, I think you have the version that has the orange. Okay.
Yeah.
So those were the bits that were added to reflect students with disabilities, and that policies regarding student conduct are going to be addressed more specifically by age in each individual school's handbook. So do we have any questions?
I know the handbooks are being worked on, right? Is that something we would expect to see that we would be approving later, just so we can see how these?
That's
are
not
linked
under our
in?
jurisdiction. It's not our purview to approve them. We can review them and make suggestions, but each school principal makes their own handbook because it's an operational thing.
Yeah, so that's what I'm wondering. If these are linking there, I'm just wondering when we'd be able to see them, just so we could see how that, like the ones that are referencing the handbook, how
Right.
it's,
So
how that linked.
we're reviewing the handbooks right now. The policy
Okay.
committee is reviewing. We're making sure. Actually, Mary has diligently gone, and I can't remember which one you started with, the high school.
Well, Fowler and I actually did most of Green Meadow, but yeah, I have to give you guys the details, but yes.
Okay,
And we're double checking. And then once we've completed those, we will let everyone know, and the school committee can review them as they want. All right, so I will accept a motion.
I
Or
can
not.
do it. I'll make a
Alrighty.
motion to accept JK student conduct.
We already have it. We're
Sorry,
just accepting the amendment.
We're accepting, yep, okay, to accept the amendment of JK student conduct.
And do I have a second?
I
a
will
second. Oh,
Okay, discussion. All right, roll call. Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Natasha Rivera,
yes,
Mary Branley.
Yes.
Excellent. Lydia Clancy. Yes. So that is done. Now, the next one is EBC Supplemental. And that basically just ties all of the COVID related policies to one policy, so that once the state of emergency is lifted, anything that we passed or approved regarding COVID related decisions will then be suspended. So
can you clarify, because I was a little confused about this one. because I know have we approved all of these policies that are listed on here?
Yep. You don't remember how many
It's been
policies?
so many. Honestly, I don't know. I didn't.
I mean, we've done like, I don't have my list right, but we've done easily 60 something policies.
Yeah.
Right. Well, like I was just looking at, okay, this, yeah, a ton. So you guys have been like way, like the time on learning. I know that seems like that has evolved recently, and I didn't know if that was needed to be amended because of, I wasn't sure about that piece. Because that kind of has changed this year since I think we've approved the policy.
Well, so what the EBC supplemental policy states is that we have given the superintendent jurisdictional, I don't know, control of time on learning. And so subject to the guidance from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and the provisions of collective bargaining agreements, the superintendent may suspend or amend requirements for time on learning for the duration of the COVID pandemic. So it's sort of fluid. It's like whatever is in effect at the time is what he's allowed to do. We don't have to approve the specifics. We're just approving that we're giving him the authority to do that. That's what this does. It adds the caveat to the time on learning IC, ICA, and ID. And then once the pandemic is over, that authority, it reverts back to the school committee, and we go back to the specific time on learning policies. And if there were any changes that needed to be made post-pandemic, then yes, we would review and approve those changes.
So the stipulation here, it says such suspension or modifications shall expire upon the end of the emergency as declared by the governor. So at that point, whenever that is, because I know everyone's kind of going back. It feels like this maybe was, I don't know, supposed to be first.
Well, it couldn't be first because we didn't have the other policies. It didn't make sense to.
No, I hear you. It just was so because once it's expired, just so I can kind of understanding that timeline, then, and that's yet to be decided, even though the kids are going to go back full time, it's still in effect until the governor lifts the state of emergency.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve EBC supplemental interim policy on COVID related issues.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. All right, let's start with Natasha.
Yes.
Mary Branley,
Yes.
Jessica Clark,
Yes.
Lydia Clancy, yes. Okay, and that is it for policy. That was the fastest policy ever. And finally, we have our members' reports. Bethlyn's not here, so we will move on to Natasha.
Oh, let me go back. Sorry. We meetings, a lot of budget meetings. We have actually next week we have our budget we saw the fruition of what we've been working on right now, and a couple of things still to be worked on. But one thing is that April 15th is the public hearing that will be, and I sent a timeline to everyone, but just to kind of reconfirm publicly. So that will be something that Colleen's working because it has special posting requirements. That will be where we'll hear from the public, and I think the modification to the meeting will have to allow for verbal engagement. And then it is not expected that we will be voting on the budget that evening. We would be doing it at a subsequent meeting. I think it was May 6th, I think it was, because then the town vote, there was a meeting right before the town vote. Isn't that what it was, Mary?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, May 6th would be that meeting for the school committee. And then the town meeting is the 15th. So conversations are ongoing, but that looks like the most recent budget update. I think Brian had shared a little bit, I think it's came up in some meetings, but about the Excel program not happening right away, or over the summer. They're looking to, and Brian might be able to expand on this, but the RF that's putting together to look at vendors potentially that would be able to take over that program. I'm sure I'm rewording it in a different way. And then the only other thing that I personally wanted to, negotiations are ongoing, was that Greg Johnson had reached out to me, and I guess there was some confusion at the select board meeting last week about how the school committee engages with, or one public body should engage with the other. And so he actually reached out to town council and did confirm that the open meeting law does not apply to attendance of a quorum of one public body when they are in attendance at another public body's meeting, as long as the meeting has been posted with requirements, and that the visiting body is only communicating an open meeting and they're not deliberating amongst themselves. So he was getting, I asked that he, be able to share legal counsel guidance with that, and that so we can better inform, because it sounded like when we go to other meetings, we may not have to do a posting if we don't intend to deliberate. If we're just there to ask questions, so that might relieve some of Colleen's work, where we wouldn't, even if it's a quorum of us, that we could all participate without having to be posted potentially. So anyway, more to come on that. But I thought it was, and he was surprised at Lisa Meads, and it was part of what she shared at her open meeting training that she did for the town of Maynard on the 22nd of March. So that's all I have.
Okay. Mary.
Just a couple of things. So thanks to Julie Danforth and Lisa McPhee down at the Green Meadow. They spearheaded a book drive for social emotional learning books. I think there's approximately 84 that they're trying to, and Julie was great. She has certain books for the certain age brackets and that. So I just want to put a shout out to that for anybody that's left here. That it's all that Silver Unicorn over in Acton makes it really, really easy. The books are priced from $16 to $19, and the drive started last Friday, which happens to be International Social Emotional Learning Day. Who knew? And it goes until April 16th. So it's really, really good. So that's that. And then
We missed, we can't hear you, Mary.
Uh-oh.
Something happened.
Oh, her computer kicked her out. I don't know what you were going to say, Mary, but your computer didn't like it.
it's the wind.
Oh, there you go. There we go.
There we go.
I can hear it outside, and I was like, oops, I am frozen. Anyway, the feasibility study has, we've had a meeting of the entire board, and then the subcommittee has started now with the owner's project management RFS to come up with that whole process so that we can hire an owner's project manager to start with the feasibility study. So it's all good. That's it.
Excellent. And Jessica.
Yes, so Bethlen and I had a great strategic planning meeting with Brian and Jennifer, and we went over feedback on how the presentations have been going that we've been sharing with the during school committee from teachers and staff, which we feel like are going really well. Some of them may need to be pushed back, obviously, because we're focused on school reopening right now. So that needs to be prioritized. So some of the ones we had on the agenda, and then also things like MCAS aren't happening, so there's not really data to review and go over at the school committee meetings, but we have not lost sight of the fact that those are all important things. We just need to shift and focus on other things right now. In regards to the data equity walk that we were potentially planning for the spring, again, that's something that we feel like would be more beneficial to have in the fall, because that can help us to kind of take what we have learned from the end of this year and over the summer, and then really evaluate. And we'll also have more data available at that point to actually analyze. So, which would be critical to a data equity walk. So, yes, it was good meeting. And then in regards to the strategic plan, we have the kind of overview one posted on the district website, and they have been working very diligently with district leadership to get the 5-year plan squared away and making sure that they're getting all of the right input and guidance and feedback from everyone, and that it's not just, you know, 1 or 2 people deciding what that should be. And obviously, again, reopening needs to be the priority, but that is going on as well behind the scenes and will be posted to the district website as soon as it is finished. Did I miss anything? I think that was it.
Nope, that is it.
Oh, and Lydia, just my Principal Barth just emailed about, I just wanted to highlight that the handbooks are also in conjunction with the school councils.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yep. Excellent.
He just wanted to make sure that was clarified there. Oh, I forgot to also mention that art space tomorrow. Jerry Beck. So I'll be attending that as well. So.
I am embarrassed to say that I should have mentioned that in my report, because not only am I going, but I also have a space there. I have a studio space there, and
oh, that's right.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I will be there as well. So hopefully people can come if you're available. That would be great. And I think that's it for this evening.
Yes.
So I will
make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, there you are. And we have a second.
I'll second.
All right, roll call dismissal. Natasha Rivera.
Yes.
Jessica Clark.
Yes.
Mary Branley.
Yes.
Lydia Clancy. Yes. All right, everyone. Thank you very